It is Film February, and to continue this celebration of film imaging, we will be loading film into an older camera. Not this one, but that would be great, wouldn't it? Because February is Film February, we will not be producing any images in February with the Fujifilm. The way we will be helping to celebrate Film February is participating in a contest put on by Andrew and Danae, and I'll link their channel right here. They're putting on a contest, and a very interesting contest, of doing film photography. You photograph everything onto one roll of film, you send that roll in, and the roll is judged in its entirety. And of course they realize that not every photograph is going to be perfect, but it still should be a fun competition. It absolutely eliminates any possibility of any kind of hanky-panky going on. I do have a few different film cameras to choose from, so let's decide which one we're going to use. The first contender would be the Calamar 660. In Michigan, the weather in February is usually a little worse than January, and we took the Calamar outside in January and tried to do some photographs. I'll link to that video right here. And quite frankly, I think the Calamar is old enough. I think he's developed arthritis and just doesn't work in the cold. So he's out of the running. Next up would be this Pentax 35mm. This Pentax camera came my way a short time ago. I've never run any film through it, but quite frankly, I'm not a big fan of Pentax cameras, and this has an all-electronic system in it, which I'm not going to trust for this contest, so the Pentax is out. Next for consideration is this Olympus OM1. The very first 35mm camera I owned was an Olympus OM1. I found this camera at an estate sale a while back and picked it up. It was in absolute pristine condition and is a fully manual camera. But we've already used this camera in another video, and in fact it's the one where I did the Kodachrome film, and I'll link to that video right here. Since we've already used this camera, let's eliminate this one too. Last but not least is this Canon FT 35mm. This beauty is a tank. On it is the 55mm f1.2 lens. This will be the camera we use. We'll load this roll of Kodak Gold 400 into the camera. We will do some type of theme photography in our area, and then we will send this in to Indie Film Labs for processing and scanning. Let's load our 35mm Kodak Gold film into the Canon FT. The first thing we'll need to do is open up the back of the camera to insert the film. Most cameras, you lift up on the wind lever and it releases the catch, but not this one. This one has a little lever that we need to turn on the back. Then it opens up. This film has an ISO of 400, so I'll have to make sure to make a note of that. Now that we have the film in, we'll pull it across, engage the sprockets, close this, lock the back, and then we'll start advancing the film. And we can tell it's advancing because we can see this lever turning. Just as with the Olympus and pretty much every 35mm camera, we're going to advance until the film counter says 1, which normally is 3 shots. And there we are. Our counter says 1. For part of the Film February photographs, I've decided to come to this area of the St. Clair River where the ice flows pinch and slow down, and we can get some very dramatic effect with the ice on the water. I'm hoping to maybe see one of the ice-breaking boats or a Coast Guard ship going through. That would make quite a nice photograph. For Film February, we are using the Canon FT camera with the 55mm FL lens. That's a 1.2 lens. Lots of glass right there. This is one fast, beautiful lens. Check this out. Swim at your own risk. Because now it is the middle of February, Michigan is emerging from its perpetual gray hour, and we have some sunshine, which is beautiful, feels nice and warm, and kind of cheers you up a little bit, but creates a couple issues as we try to do some photographs, especially with film. One of the beauties of using this camera in fast glass like this is we can have large apertures and very shallow depths of field and very much selective focus. But with the current sunshine and conditions, it makes that very challenging. With the digital camera, you can change the ISO, but I have ISO 400 speed film in this. I can't change the ISO at all. It is what it is. Sometimes I'm not the quickest guy around, and it took me a little bit to remember I have some neutral density filters that fit my Fujifilm, and they also fit this lens, so that's going to help us out greatly. Using the Sunny 16 rule, we'd be at f16 at a 5/100th of a second, like we're set right here, in bright sunlight. Now film, you can overexpose a little bit. We try to expose film for the shadows, where digital sensors we expose for the highlights. So I'm okay if I'm overexposed just a little bit, but f16 is not going to give me any type of shallow depth of field. So I put a neutral density filter on here, a 3-stop, so I can go 1, 2, 3 stops, turning it the right way this time, not like when I did the Kodachrome film experiment, and I'll link to that video right here where I made a massive error in setting my camera backwards and effectively rated ISO 64 film at ISO 250, and then wondered later why my negatives were so underexposed. But this puts me at f5.6, coming 3 f-stops, 1, 2, 3 off of f16 at a 5/100th of a second, but I could go to a 1,000th of a second and be at f4 with the 3-stop neutral density filter, and that should get me the shallow depth of field I'm looking for. This entire roll of film will be sent for processing and then go on to the contest without me getting to see any of the images. But one thing they asked was that there be a theme to the photographs, and I'm sure you can see by some of the stuff I'm photographing and the photographs you're going to see in a later video, you can probably figure out my theme. But let's take this shot right now that I saw as I was driving by. This is a ferry dock that connects the United States to Canada, and Canada is very, very close to us, right across the St. Clair River. But driving past, I did see these pilings that are here that kind of help protect the ferry boat as it comes in, and I thought it'd be a great composition. I really love the juxtaposition of what we normally consider a warm weather scene, the water, and this dockage where we see the pilings and where the ferry boat would come in and park. But with the snow and the ice, none of that's going to happen right now. Let's consider how we're going to compose this shot. We've got light coming in from this side, so it's hitting it kind of front, but the clouds are over, so we don't have that much direction in our sunlight. Using Sunny 16, if it was bright sun, I'd be at f16 at a 5/100th of a second. So let's just set that up right there on the camera. Now, I figure we're about 2 f-stops off of that. Maybe 1, probably 1. So f11, and then I have my 3-stop neutral density filter. So 8, 5, 6, 4. And actually at this area right here, I kind of like the idea of f4 to use this photograph. An obvious question is why, in our modern era with incredible digital sensors, do we choose to still photograph with film? For me, it connects me to my roots. I originally learned photography on film, and I still have a fondness for it. In addition, I believe film is a great medium for any photographer to really learn what's going on inside the camera. Another viable option would be to choose to photograph strictly in JPEG and not use RAW files and do over-processing with your photo editing software, be that Lightroom, Capture One, Photoshop, Affinity Photo, whatever software is your favorite. Film is where photography was invented. Film is its roots. I encourage any and all of you to find yourself a film camera, shoot a couple rolls, and see what it's like. When I receive the digital images, I'll post a link to them right here so that you can see the whole series of photographs that we've taken over the past couple of weeks with this Canon FT camera. Film, with its inherent flaws and limitations, can be an incredible learning experience to help deepen your understanding of exposure, f-stop, shutter speed, and what is actually going on. There's no room to hide in film. I'll link some other videos right here that you can watch and show some different aspects of film photography and even developing film. I'm James Fisher. This is Vintage Illumination Photography. Thanks for joining me.